The clerk at the county housing intake window stopped typing when he reached page 3 of the filing. He leaned closer to the monitor, adjusted it slightly to the left, and said, "Why is this lease marked Medical Protection Hold, Section 8.14? My mother-in-law, Diane, was standing beside me holding the eviction packet in a white binder. She didn't answer him. She smiled the way people do when they assume something is a technical delay. "It's a standard non-payment," she said. 14-day notice, filed March 6. She hasn't paid $4,870. The clerk didn't respond immediately. He clicked twice. The printer beside him made a short mechanical sound, then stopped. I remained seated, the metal chair pressed against the incision line beneath my sweater. I had been discharged from St. Matthew's Medical Center 9 days earlier after a 7-day inpatient stay. My discharge summary was folded inside my tote bag, along with the medication schedule printed in 12-point font and highlighted at 6-hour intervals. The clerk turned his screen slightly toward himself. "This file was flagged February 12, he said. "Protection status active." Diane glanced at her husband, Robert. He stepped forward and placed the binder flat on the counter. "That's not possible," he said. "We own the property. The lease is month to month now." The clerk scrolled again. "The lease in our system shows 42 pages, he said calmly, including a medical stability addendum. There was a short pause. Robert shifted his weight. He was still holding the certified mail receipt dated March 7. I watched the timestamp on the monitor reflection in the window behind him, 10:18 a.m. The clerk clicked one more time and printed a single sheet. "This cannot be scheduled for eviction review," he said. "Not until compliance clears the protection hold." Diane's voice tightened slightly. "She's been discharged. She's walking." I did not look at her. The clerk replied, "The hold is not based on mobility. It's based on documentation submitted February 12 at 3:42 p.m. Robert frowned. "We never received anything like that." The clerk rotated the screen back toward himself. "It shows electronic acknowledgement at 4:03 p.m., same day." Silence moved differently after that. The original filing claimed $4,870 in unpaid rent, covering January and February. The ledger attached to the binder showed 2 missed transfers of $1,250 each, and late fees calculated at $135 per week. Utilities had been reassigned on March 3, HOA access privileges were suspended March 4. I adjusted my posture slowly. The surgical adhesive beneath the bandage was still intact. My follow-up appointment was scheduled for March 21 at 8:30 a.m. I had not missed a payment in 11 months prior to February. The clerk gathered the papers and slid the binder back across the counter. "This case is temporarily frozen," he said. "Compliance will review Section 8.14. Robert's jaw tightened slightly. "So what does that mean?" "It means," the clerk said evenly, "that eviction action cannot proceed while medical protection status is active." Diane inhaled slowly, as if recalculating. "She was discharged March 9. We have documentation." The clerk nodded. "Discharge does not override pre-filed medical stabilization clauses." He stamped the top page with a small blue mark. "Hold, review required." The sound of the stamp was softer than I expected. I had signed the original lease 11 months earlier. On April 18, page 38 contained the addendum titled Temporary Medical Stability Clause. It was not bolded. It was not highlighted. It required only documented admission to activate a 90-day protection window. February 12 was the day I uploaded the hospital pre-admission confirmation through the property management portal. The clerk handed Robert a printed sheet with a reference number beginning with 7842. "You'll receive notice within 5 business days," he said. Diane closed the binder carefully. Her movements were precise. "We were only protecting the property," she said. No one responded. Behind us, another tenant stepped forward holding a notice with a red stripe across the top. The intake line moved as if nothing had shifted, but something had. The eviction filing had been submitted 22 days after the protection flag was activated. The acknowledgement timestamp remained on record. As we stepped away from the counter, Robert looked at me for the first time that morning. "You should have told us," he said quietly. I adjusted the strap of my bag over my shoulder. The medication reminder on my phone vibrated at 10:30 a.m. I silenced it without looking down. Outside, the March air felt colder than it had when we walked in. The filing was frozen. The lease was not. When we returned to the house that afternoon, nothing looked different from the outside. The beige siding, the trimmed hedges, the HOA notice posted near the mailbox dated March 4, all of it appeared orderly. The garage door opened halfway before stopping, then resumed after a 3-second delay. Robert had changed the remote batteries the week before. He mentioned it twice. Inside, the thermostat was set to 62 degrees. I moved carefully toward the living room sofa. My discharge instructions required limited stair use for 14 days. The master bedroom was upstairs. Diane had suggested I recover on the couch temporarily, since climbing might strain the incision. The word temporarily had been used often. Robert placed the white binder on the kitchen counter and removed the stamped hold notice. He read it again, slower this time. It's procedural, he said. Compliance review doesn't mean approval. Diane began reorganizing a stack of envelopes near the sink. Certified mail receipts were aligned in a neat column. One was dated March 7th at 2:14 p.m. The signature line was blank. I had been at a post-operative lab appointment between 1:30 and 3:10 that afternoon. We sent proper notice, she said. 14 days is standard. The lease stated 30 days for non-payment unless otherwise modified. Page 12, section 3.2. I sat without responding. On March 3rd, 3 days before the eviction notice was drafted, the utilities were transferred into Robert's name. The electric account confirmation number ended in 1189. The water service change processed at 9:42 a.m. The gas account reflected a deposit of $320 paid by check. My online access to the utility portals stopped the same afternoon. That evening, my automatic rent transfer of $1,250 was returned. The bank notification cited recipient account modification. The routing number on file had been updated March 2 at 6:18 p.m. I had not logged into the portal that day. Diane placed a folder in front of me. We printed the updated lease addendum, she said. Month-to-month adjustment. It protects everyone. The document was 3 pages. The footer showed a creation date of February 28th. The signature line for me was blank. Page numbering read 1 of 3, 2 of 3, 3 of 3. The original lease referenced no such amendment. I'll review it, I said. Robert nodded. Just understand we can't carry unpaid balances. Property taxes were $8,740 last year. The statement was delivered calmly, as if informational. My February rent had been transferred on February 1st at 8:02 a.m. The confirmation email remained in my archive. The ledger they attached to the eviction filing showed February as unpaid, along with January. January cleared January 3rd, transaction ID ending in 4427. There was an $820 discrepancy between their ledger and my bank records. I did not mention it. Over the next 4 days, small access points shifted. The HOA gate code stopped functioning March 4 at 7:12 p.m. The management office confirmed account adjustment. My name was removed from the authorized resident list. The mailbox key no longer turned fully. Diane said the lock had been sticking for months. Packages addressed to me were placed unopened on the dining table. One contained surgical compression garments ordered February 25th. On March 10th, I received an email from the property management portal titled Notice of Ledger Deficiency. It showed a balance of $4,870. The breakdown included 2 late fees calculated at $135 each week for 3 weeks. Late fees in the lease were $85 after a 5-day grace period. I opened the original 42-page lease on my laptop. Page 38 outlined the temporary medical stability clause. Activation required documented hospital admission submitted through the portal. Once active, eviction actions were suspended for 90 days, unless rent remained unpaid beyond documented insurance processing delays. My insurance claim number for the surgery was issued February 16th. Estimated reimbursement timeline, 30 to 45 days. On March 11th, Diane asked if I had scheduled my follow-up. March 21st, I said. She nodded. By then, we need clarity. Clarity was repeated twice more that week. Robert printed the rent ledger again on March 12th. The formatting changed slightly. The $820 discrepancy remained. I began keeping a handwritten log in a spiral notebook. Dates, timestamps, changes. March 2nd, routing number updated. March 3rd, utilities transferred. March 4th, HOA access removed. March 6th, eviction notice drafted. February 12th, lease flagged. 3:42 p.m. The pattern was linear. On March 13th, I called the housing compliance office listed on the hold notice. The representative confirmed the protection status remains active and non-removable until May 18th, pending review. Was it triggered automatically? I asked. No, she said. Documentation was uploaded. Is acknowledgement required from the property owner? Yes. It shows acknowledgement at 4:03 p.m. February 12th. I thanked her and ended the call. That evening, Robert mentioned scheduling a locksmith if things remain unresolved. Diane placed the 3-page addendum back on the counter. We just need signatures, she said. I closed my notebook. The thermostat remains at 62 degrees. The house was quiet, but the numbers were not. On March 14th at 6:40 a.m., a full account history export was requested through the property management portal. The confirmation banner appeared at 6:41. The downloadable file was generated at 6:51. 47 entries, each stamped to the minute. No gaps in sequence. The laptop remained open on the dining table where documents had begun forming measured stacks. Post-surgical restrictions were still active. No lifting above 10 pounds, limited stair use, medication every 8 hours. The follow-up incision check had confirmed stability, but recovery guidelines remained in effect for 14 additional days. The export listed January 3, rent payment $1,250, confirmed, transaction ID ending 4427. February 1, rent payment $1,250, confirmed, transaction ID ending 9031. February 12, 3:42 p.m., medical documentation uploaded. February 12, 4:03 p.m., administrator acknowledgement logged. February 28, 8:54 p.m., draft addendum created, status not executed. March 2, 6:18 p.m., routing number modified, access level administrator. March 3, 9:42 a.m., utility account transfer initiated. March 4, 7:12 p.m., HOA resident authorization removed. March 6, 9:11 a.m., eviction filing drafted. March 7, 2:14 p.m., certified mail attempted delivery. There were 2 administrator profiles attached to the property account. No tenant authorization entry appeared beside the March 2 routing modification. A 4-column sheet was opened: date, action, ledger impact, access level. The rows were transcribed without commentary. The ledger attached to the eviction filing reflected January as unpaid. The bank confirmations reflected clearance. The difference totaled $820 after correcting late fees. The lease specified $85 applied once after a 5-day grace period. The filing reflected $135 applied weekly across 3 weeks. No notation explained the adjustment. 9 certified bank copies were requested March 15th, fee $6 per document. Delivery confirmation March 20th before noon. On March 16th at 2:27 p.m., portal support replied to a clarification request regarding routing changes. Routing updates require administrator credentials. No tenant authorization required when admin-level access is used. The response was saved as PDF. File name included the timestamp. That afternoon, Diane stood at the edge of the dining table where the spreadsheet remained visible across 2 screens. We need this resolved before May, she said. The thermostat remained set to 62 degrees. The March 3 utility confirmation number ending 1189 was clipped to the electric transfer receipt. On March 17th, St. Matthew's Medical Center provided written verification of pre-admission notice issued February 12 at 1:08 p.m., uploaded through the property portal at 3:42 p.m., admission ID ending 7714. The acknowledgement timestamp in the export remained 4:03 p.m. The 21-minute interval was visible without emphasis. That evening, Robert placed a printed document beside the sink. Property maintenance estimate, March 13. Rekey service, $240. Additional locks, $85 each. Projected total, $495. It's required for insurance file updates, he said. Carrier prefers documentation during occupancy reviews. The paper was folded once and aligned with other printed receipts. On March 18th at 3:16 p.m., a voicemail was received from Housing Compliance. Preliminary review indicates timing inconsistencies between protection activation and eviction submission. Formal notice to follow within 10 business days. The message was transcribed verbatim into a lined notebook already containing dated entries. February 12, protection activated, 3:42 p.m. March 2, routing modified, 6:18 p.m. March 6, eviction drafted, 9:11 a.m. No additional annotations were added. On March 19th, the metadata log displayed expanded details beneath the February 28th draft addendum entry. Status, not executed. Digital signature, none recorded. Last modified, February 28th, 8:54 p.m., modified by administrator. The printed 3-page addendum carried that same February 28th footer. The signature line remained blank. The administrator access log showed no edits after March 2 at 6:18 p.m. Certified bank copies arrived March 20th at 11:12 a.m., raised seals visible. 2 payments totaling $2,500 cleared prior to the March 6 eviction draft. The returned March transfer timestamp followed the routing change by 18 hours. The sequence required no interpretation. On March 21 at 8:30 a.m., surgical follow-up confirmed stable healing. Activity restrictions extended 14 days. Upon returning at 11:02 a.m., printed emails were arranged across the kitchen counter. Compliance requested supporting documents, Robert said. The hospital verification letter and portal export remained clipped together in the folder. March 22 at 9:02 a.m., a local tenant attorney responded to a forwarded inquiry. His office had operated from the same downtown address for 18 years. Consultation confirmed for March 22 at 3 p.m., fee $325 per hour. 17 attachments totaling 92 pages had been transmitted. During the call, he stated, "Protection status appears active. Preserve documentation, avoid executing amendments, await formal review notice." No further instruction was necessary. By March 23rd, the folder contained 27 documents secured with 2 metal clips. Lease copy, 42 pages, medical stability clause, page 38, portal export, 47 entries, metadata clarification email, bank confirmations with seals, hospital verification letter, draft addendum, unsigned, eviction filing copy, utility transfer confirmations, HOA authorization removal record, certified mail receipt attempt, compliance voicemail transcript. Each page was numbered in pencil at the bottom right corner. On March 24th at 4:58 p.m., formal notice arrived by email. Subject, Protection Status Evaluation, Lease File 7842. Hearing scheduled April 3 at 1:30 p.m. Location, County Housing Compliance Office, Room 214. 2 copies were printed, 1 placed in the folder, 1 left on the table. Diane entered before the printer tray closed. "What is that?" she asked. "A hearing notice." She scanned the header briefly. "That seems administrative." The administrator access log remained unchanged. The routing modification timestamp remained 6:18 p.m. The acknowledgement entry remained 4:03 p.m. February 12. Lease File 7842 now contained 27 documents, 92 supporting pages, and 1 unexecuted addendum draft. No entries had been deleted, no timestamps had shifted. April 3 arrived without adjustment. The hearing notice specified 1:30 p.m. County Housing Compliance Office, Room 214. Check-in required 15 minutes prior. Documents to be presented in duplicate. At 1:12 p.m., Lease File 7842 was placed on the intake counter. 27 documents, 92 supporting pages. 2 certified bank seals visible through the transparent folder sleeve. Room 214 contained a rectangular conference table, 4 standard chairs, 1 wall clock positioned above a framed Municipal Housing Code summary. Temperature registered cooler than the hallway. At 1:28 p.m., Robert and Diane entered, carrying a white binder approximately 2 inches thick. No additional folders were visible. At 1:31 p.m., the compliance officer introduced herself, confirmed identification, and verified the lease address, occupancy start date, and eviction filing date, March 6. The officer requested a chronological summary of relevant events. The printed portal export was placed on the table, Page 1 facing upward. January 3, rent payment $1,250, confirmed. February 1, rent payment $1,250, confirmed. February 12, 3:42 p.m., medical documentation uploaded. February 12, 4:03 p.m., administrator acknowledgement logged. March 2, 6:18 p.m., routing modified, administrator. March 6, 9:11 a.m., eviction drafted. The officer compared the February 12 timestamps to the medical stability clause on page 38 of the lease. Protection activates upon upload acknowledgement, she said. This acknowledgement is logged at 4:03 p.m. She marked the time in her notes. Robert stated that rent for January and February remained unpaid at the time of filing. Certified bank copies were placed beside the ledger. Transaction IDs ending 4427 and 9031. Raised seals intact. Clearance dates preceding March 6th. The officer reviewed the landlord ledger reflecting January unpaid and late fees calculated at $135 per week for 3 weeks. She referenced the lease. Late fee listed here is $85 applied once after a 5-day grace period. No amendment page was attached to the executed lease. The 3-page addendum dated February 28th was presented. Footer, February 28th. Status in portal, not executed. Digital signature, none recorded. The officer turned the pages. Was this signed by the tenant? No, Diane said. It was pending. The administrator access log was reviewed next. March 2, 6:18 p.m. Routing number modified, administrator. Who holds administrator credentials? The officer asked. Robert confirmed 2 profiles, his and Diane's. Was tenant authorization recorded? No. The officer requested clarification regarding the returned March rent transfer. Bank notification displayed, transfer returned, recipient account modified. Timestamp followed routing modification by 18 hours. Silence remained procedural. The utility transfer confirmations dated March 3 were examined. Electric account number ending 1189. Water service change 9:42 a.m. HOA authorization removal March 4 at 7:12 p.m. The officer aligned the dates without commentary. Eviction draft date March 6, 9:11 a.m. Protection acknowledgement February 12, 4:03 p.m. The wall clock reached 2:06 p.m. Robert stated the eviction filing was precautionary due to anticipated non-payment. The officer responded, protection status suspends eviction action during medical stability review unless verified non-payment exists. Certified payments totaling $2,500 were repositioned in front of her. She examined the portal metadata page, indicating draft addendum created, not executed. Was the lease modified prior to eviction filing? She asked. No executed amendment, Robert said. The officer wrote, executed lease governs. At 2:19 p.m., she requested confirmation that the routing modification preceded the returned transfer. The timeline sheet was turned toward her. March 2, 6:18 p.m., routing modified. March 3, utilities transferred. March 6th, eviction filed. The returned rent notice date displayed March 3, 12:24 p.m. No entries had been deleted from the export. The administrator log reflected no edits after March 2 at 6:18 p.m. At 2:31 p.m., the officer concluded the document review. Protection activation predates eviction filing by 22 days, she said. Certified payments verified January and February rent satisfied. Late fee calculation inconsistent with the executed lease. Routing modification conducted at administrator level without tenant authorization. She closed the folder. Eviction filing dated March 6th is suspended pending formal compliance determination. Written decision will issue within 5 business days. Room 214 remained quiet. Robert requested clarification regarding next steps. You will receive written findings, the officer replied. Until determination is issued, no occupancy transition actions may proceed. The maintenance estimate dated March 13th remained in the white binder. It was not referenced again. At 2:38 p.m., the hearing concluded. Lease file 7842 was returned across the table. All timestamps remained fixed. All administrator entries remained visible. The executed lease remained unchanged. The wall clock read 2:41 p.m. Outside room 241, no additional statements were made. The compliance record now reflected April 3, protection status review conducted, 1:31 p.m. to 2:38 p.m. Eviction filing, suspended pending determination. No amendments were executed. No entries were altered. The routing modification timestamp remained 6:18 p.m. March 2. On April 8th at 9:17 a.m., the Housing Compliance Portal updated the status of Lease File 7842. Eviction filing, rejected. Protection status, active through May 18th, 11:59 p.m. Administrative Review Code, 8.14 Medical Stability Clause. The update appeared before the mailed copy arrived. At 10:02 a.m., a 6-page determination letter was delivered by certified mail. The envelope carried the county seal and a barcode tracking number, ending in 4421. Signature confirmation was required. Page 1 confirmed findings from the April 3 review. Page 2 listed the February 12th acknowledgement timestamp, 4:03 p.m., tied to administrator credentials. Page 3 referenced certified bank payments totaling $2,500. Page 4 cited improper late fee calculation, exceeding lease allowance by $405. Page 5 outlined corrective actions required within 72 hours. Page 6 detailed administrative consequences for noncompliance. Utilities were to be restored to tenant control within 72 hours of receipt. HOA access reinstated immediately. Rent ledger corrected to reflect 0 arrears. Eviction record removed from county scheduling queue. A civil administrative penalty of $3,600 was assessed for initiating protected period displacement procedures after electronic acknowledgement of medical documentation. No language in the letter suggested dispute over facts. At 11:26 a.m., the electric account portal reflected reversal of the March 3 transfer. Account number ending 1189 returned to original designation. Water service updated at 1:14 p.m. HOA gate credentials reactivated by 3:02 p.m. No phone call accompanied the changes. At 4:48 p.m., Robert requested a copy of the determination letter. A duplicate was provided without commentary. He read page 2 twice. The acknowledgement line displayed beneath his email address. February 12th, 4:03 p.m., documentation received, administrator confirmed. The digital receipt number remained fixed. There must have been confusion, he said. The letter did not reference confusion. On April 9th at 8:32 a.m., the county docket reflected removal of the March 6th eviction filing. Case status, closed, non-processable under active protection. The $4,870 alleged balance no longer appeared in the housing queue. At 10:05 a.m., an updated rent ledger was emailed. January, paid. February, paid. Late fee, $85, single entry. Balance due, $0. The correction aligned with page 4 of the compliance order. No apology was included. By April 10th, the thermostat remained at 62 degrees, but control access was no longer restricted through the utility dashboard. Garage remote functionality resumed at 6:18 p.m., confirmed by entry log. On April 11th, a supplemental notice arrived regarding oversight designation. Until May 18th, Lease File 7842 would remain under neutral monitoring to ensure compliance with Section 8.14. Any modification required written dual acknowledgement. The administrator access log showed no new changes. Medication intervals reduced again to every 12 hours. Follow-up appointment scheduled April 18th at 9:40 a.m. Recovery restrictions remained in place, but housing stability was no longer conditional. On April 14th, a payment confirmation for May rent, $1,250, processed without interruption, transaction ID ending 7712, cleared within standard 24-hour transfer time. No routing discrepancies appeared. The portal reflected lease status active. Protection clause concludes May 18, 11:59 p.m. Administrative slag compliant. Robert avoided direct discussion of the $3,600 penalty. The deduction appeared in the property management account summary under regulatory assessment, housing. No further maintenance estimates were printed. On April 18th at 9:40 a.m., surgical review confirmed stable recovery. Activity restrictions reduced to lifting under 25 pounds. Documentation of medical clearance was optional, since Section 8.14 required no additional submission unless extending protection beyond 90 days. No extension was requested. By April 22nd, HOA correspondence resumed standard monthly formatting. No references to compliance review appeared. The 6-page determination letter was placed back into lease file 7842 behind the certified bank copies and portal export. Total document count increased to 33 pages, including the administrative order and corrected ledger. No revisions had been made to timestamps. No entries had been retroactively edited. The February 12th acknowledgement remained at 4:03 p.m. On May 1st, the housing portal displayed a countdown indicator beneath the protection clause, 17 days remaining. No additional notices were filed. Robert transferred $3,600 from the operating account on May 3rd, recorded as County Administrative Resolution. The transaction posted at 2:11 p.m. By May 18th at 11:59 p.m., the medical stability clause expired automatically. At 12 a.m. May 19th, the portal reflected standard lease status without special designation. No eviction filings were pending. No balance remained outstanding. No amendments had been executed. Lease file 7842 remained intact at 33 documents. The acknowledgement signature dated February 12th had not changed. When recovery required protection, the lease had already recorded it.